I definitely enjoyed Back from Vacation, but there were a few things about this episode that I didn't love. One is a specific moment that I'll talk about when we get there, and I just feel like it ended in a way where I didn't really feel fulfilled. It felt very abrupt, and not in a way where I'm now desperate to watch the next episode. I am excited to watch the next episode, but I feel like this one was missing something. I was left feeling like we needed at least another scene. This is, of course, the 11th episode of the 3rd season of The Office. It's directed by Julian Farino. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And sometimes with The Office, I will go through things chronologically, but with this one, there are two parts of the narrative. And I think I'll just talk about them in turn. But the intro was pretty great, because Jim is holding a meeting and Dwight is tape recording it so he can make notes, because Michael is on vacation, as we know from the previous episode. And Jim starts to say that Dwight is doing things, and then everybody else around the table joins in. And then Andy takes it a bit too far by saying he's going to chainsaw Phyllis's head off, which is pretty tragic. It was a fun way to start things off. Then there are two parts to the narrative, and one involves Michael, who comes back immediately, and he's shown some photos and then accidentally emails a photo of him with Jan. As I said it in the previous discussion, it was pretty obvious that he was going to be going to Jamaica with Jan, and of course this confirms it. And he sent the photo to packing, which means it went to Daryl. And before Michael could intercept, Daryl forwarded it to everybody, and now everybody knows. And Michael's face when he realised what he'd done, he looked like he knew he screwed up. Usually when Michael does something wrong, he tries to brush it off with a joke or turn it around somehow, but with this, it was just fear. Just pure fear on his face, and there was nothing he could do. The warehouse staff applauded him, which was a bit weird, and then Jan visits him, and I feel like I don't like Jan very much, because I feel like she's playing head games with Michael. Because, well, yes and no. I feel like maybe we're getting closer to them just being in an open relationship, if that is what's going to happen. But she came over to talk with him and basically told him that she knows he's wrong for her, but she's attracted to him, and it gets physical again. And I feel like at this point, she's just playing with him and only giving in to his pleads and begging when it suits her. But that scene with Jan and Michael did feel like we're getting slightly closer to it being an open... I don't mean an open relationship as in an open relationship in that sense. I mean a relationship that's out in the open. So I'm not overly enthusiastic about what's going to happen here, because I'm not the biggest fan of Jan's actions as of late. But I'm still quite keen to see where things go. The other part of the narrative focuses on Karen, Jim, and Pam, as is often the case. And honestly, it has the worst scene in every episode of The Office that I've seen so far. Because Karen is staying in a hotel still, and she suggested to Jim that maybe she could rent a place that's quite near Jim. And Jim said it's a bit close. It would be like living together, even though they're in separate houses. And Karen was a bit annoyed by that. I didn't think too much of it until Jim confided in Pam at some point that he'd had a fight with Karen. To me, it didn't seem like a fight. It just seemed like one person had an opinion and the other person didn't agree. But apparently that's a fight. And Pam asks him, "Do you want to talk about it?" And he replied, "Really?" As if to say, "I can't believe you'd want to listen to me talking about my problems knowing how I feel about you." Jim, I believe, doesn't know how Pam feels about him. And Pam listens and basically sides with Karen. Not in as many words, but she gives Jim some encouragement to maybe let Karen rent a place nearby, because it's not going to be that much closer than she is now. Karen thanks Pam. And then we cut to a scene where Pam is just sobbing. And it's heartbreaking, and I hate it. And then Dwight comes along and gives it a little bit of comedy, as he's very awkward and very Dwight. But it was horrible. I absolutely hated it, and I didn't want to see that. I thought Jim crying, telling Pam how he felt at the end of season 2 was as low as it could go, as emotional and traumatizing as it could get. And then they show us that scene, and I'm not ready for that. So we better get some forward movement with Pam and Jim soon, because it's getting quite agonizing. It's very painful. I really hope we get something soon. As I said in previous discussions, my prediction now, and my last predictions have all been incorrect, but my prediction is that it'll be the end of this season. But I'm starting to like Karen. So whatever happens, I hope she sticks around. And I wasn't going to say that at the beginning of the season because I didn't take to her. Maybe for the same reasons Pam didn't initially either. Definitely not a huge fan of her to begin with, but now I quite like her. She's done nothing wrong. And Pam breaks my heart, as she does Jim's. So desperate for some kind of positive movement there. And then we end the episode, and yeah, it just felt like everything just kind of fizzled out. And like, put it this way, it ended, and I was surprised that it ended. I thought we'd have at least another couple of minutes left. So I am looking forward to the next episode. But I'm not feeling the most positive at the moment. It's definitely dragged me down with that particular scene, not the happiest. But we'll see what happens going forward. Back from vacation, definitely has some good moments. Personal highlights, I guess the intro scene. And honestly, that's probably about it in terms of moments that I genuinely enjoyed. The rest of it was absolutely fine. Needless to say, it's not a personal favourite episode, but I'm still looking forward to the next one.